Hey, Greensboro College, welcome to another episode of the Collegian Podcast with your host, Zypher Pino, and by my side here we got...
Josh Wilson.
We're so excited for this episode because this issue is a really great one. I think it's our best issue of the semester yet. Starting off with our cover article made by Breanna Adamick, Meaning Behind the Name, an article all about the possible renaming of the main building's Lea Center, due to Reverend Solomon Lee, the first president of Greensboro College, having owned a slave in the past, according to research done by a committee on college. During the event, there was great conversation revolving around this topic, and we hope to reciprocate that same energy in today's podcast. So just Josh, any overall thoughts on this topic?
I believe that if possible, it would be great to change the Lea Center's name, if that is the history, which it is the history.
Mm-hmm.
He enslaved people. So, honestly, I don't really see why we would honor somebody who's done something dishonorable like enslaving people.
Yeah. It's definitely a terrible thing, but I am kind of seem like mean or terrible by saying this, but I mean this in the nicest way possible. I feel like it's kind of totally unnecessary to do something like this. If you go read my Counterpoints article, I did some more research about Lee and what he did during his time. And he was honestly considered like a revolutionary person because of his work with women education and just advocating for women at a time where they were seen as inferior to men. And yes, he should have never enslaved a person. Obviously, that's terrible. I think this is the perfect kind of bounce off point to our next article because our counterpoints for this issue made by me and Breanna Adamick, we asked, by renaming historical places, are we erasing history? And one of the points that Bree made about this article was, if anything, by changing the names of these places, it's a symbol of us moving on and showing that this is how we learned, or this is what we learned throughout the years, and this is why we shouldn't name a place like the Lea Center to a person who owned a slave. Because by renaming this place, we're showing that, hey, we're actually changing history and we actually learned something from the past.
Yeah, I think, are we necessarily changing history? I don't really think so. I mean, you can't never really change history. You can forget history.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about Lea, the Lea Center and stuff, we're not forgetting the good things he does. But, when you're slaving people, that kind of outweighs a lot.
Absolutely.
And, racism outweighs a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's one of the things I pointed out with my side of the counterpoints about the forgetting aspect part. I mentioned that by renaming Lea Center, the work that Lee done could possibly be forgotten and lost. Like, yes, you would still have historical records of it, maybe like online or books, because that's kind of like the society we're building, just keeping a record of everything. So it won't be entirely lost, but I think the work that he did, like with women education again, it's kind of be forgotten. And you could say that, yes, since he owned a slave, that yes, we should just forget about what he did because owning a slave is not something that should ever be a right thing, ever, even in society back then. But that was one of my main arguments, was that by renaming Lea Center to something else, whether it's like another person or just naming it just the main lobby of main building, something like that, it's kind of like we're kind of forgetting about him. Because honestly, if Lea Center wasn't named Lea Center, I probably wouldn't even know who Solomon Lee is. So that was kind of just my main argument. So not just focusing on the Lea Center, but just historical places in general. I argued like they were named after certain people for a reason. They weren't just named just because, they were named after that person because they did something good, or they were revolutionary, or they were a good symbol during the time. So that was my main argument with this counterpoints issue. And I do totally understand what Bree was saying, and I totally get what points that you're making. But overall, I think just with the Lea Center conversations and just this counterpoints topic, I think it's just a great opportunity to just have difficult conversations like this. Like, what do people actually think? Does it even matter? So I think it's just a great conversation or topic in general anyway. So moving on to, I think, the best article of this issue. Our very own Josh Wilson making history by becoming the very first wrestling NCAA champion of Greensboro College. Honestly, just wow. Like, what? Just overall thoughts on being an NCAA champion. Like, it's been a couple days since you won it. How does it feel?
It honestly feels awesome. I wanted to bring a national championship to my hometown since I was little. And especially when I first got here, I said to myself, I was like, I want to be able to bring, a championship back home, and to be able to actually do that. At first, it was just really hard to believe that I did it.
Yeah.
When you're in these high pressure moments, you kind of go on autopilot, and you don't really realize what you done until it's all over with.
Yeah, it's absolutely great, honestly. Like, what you did, you're just honestly such an accomplished wrestler. Like, on top of just being an NCAA champion, there was a paragraph that Taylor wrote about just your accomplishments in general. And oh my gosh, you have so many awards and trophies and tournaments that you've won. What does your trophy case look like?
It's like it looks like a bookshelf, but like I mean I don't really like keep my awards. I kind of just give them to my mom
Oh, that's nice.
She's the one who drove me to practice every day. She's the one who paid for whenever I did AAU wrestling or entered a tournament, or she's the reason why I'm in college. So every accomplishment that I get, I give it to her.
That's wonderful.
I mean, she made me able to be able to do that. So, just giving thanks to her, giving thanks to God, and that's kind of how I look at it. The plaques and stuff, the materialistic things are cool, but I just really be honest, it's like the journey, the things you learn along the way, getting to that point, it's more rich than, when you finally get it.
Yeah.
After you get it, it's just kind of like, now you're like, now what? What do we do next?
Yeah. Like, if you're focused on just getting a trophy, that's when you get that feeling where, like, that unsatisfactory feeling. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, we still always want to get better, thrive to be the best. So there's nothing wrong with that, getting that feeling. But I think if you focus too much on, like you said, just focusing on getting the award, getting the trophy, getting the recognition, you won't really see that intrinsic value within you.
Yeah, the journey, the benefits you pick up and the improvement and growth you have throughout the journey is what really builds you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And even sports in general, when you're finally done, looking at your career, you're not going to look at the awards. You're going to look at the person that made you at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Another one of the questions I wanted to ask you was kind of related to this conversation we're having right now. Is just, what does it take to get to the level that you are at right now? NCAA champion, just so accomplished over the past couple of years. How did you get to this level, and what does it take?
Well, first it takes work ethic, obviously, but you got to have a purpose in mind. You got to have a goal. You got to have something you're going after. I feel like if you are training without a purpose, without a goal in mind, it's kind of hard to gauge your improvement. I knew that I wanted to become a national champion, and I looked up and researched national champions, and I saw what they did, and I had to implement it into my thing. So I noticed that all of them had some sort of faith, a religion that they believed in. All of them were very disciplined. They had really good time management skills. They did things even when they didn't want to do it. They knew how to control procrastination, and a lot of them also were just mentally tough.
Mm-hmm.
When something will go wrong, they'll know how to shake back from it quickly. A lot of them were also positive, like they had positive outlooks. They knew whenever there was something negative going through your brain, because when you're working for something, you're not automatically going to get it. You're going to fail a couple times, and there's going to be times where you need to pick yourself back up. And a lot of them had the ability to have positive self-talk and a winning mindset,
Mm-hmm.
A winning mindset even when you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
And a lot of them knew how to handle pressure. Pressure is huge. That's almost like about 40% of the battle, is being able to get on that big stage and perform like you did. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you go into a practice room when nobody's looking, you'll see the best athletes perform at their best. You know why? Because they're relaxed, they're comfortable, and they're sure of themselves. If you put them in front of thousands of people on a big stage, some of them can't do it. Some of them will crumble up, So being able to handle pressure and everybody has different ways of doing it. I use breathing techniques. I use my faith. I use positive self-talk. I use visualization. I'm very conscious of what I consume on the internet. Like, if this has like if I get a negative reaction out of this, I'm probably not going to watch it before a competition. Everything that I absorb is positive.
I absolutely love everything you just said. And I think the number one thing that people forget about athletes is just the psychological difficulty of being a great athlete. And you just hit on that like absolutely perfectly. Like, it's not just about skills and how you perform. Honestly, majority of the battle is just how can you get your mind into the state of being a winner, being consistently successful. And honestly, that was very inspiring what you just said. I think that was absolutely fantastic. And the last thing I kind of wanted to ask you about just being an NCAA champion is just, honestly, the thing that probably impresses me the most, which is great to say because you've literally done so many things already, is just how good of a student you are, how involved you are in campus. You're in the dean's list. You are part of the Collegian. You do a whole bunch of things that I probably don't even know. Like, typically, what I see is that athletes have a difficult time with being successful both on the field and with school and extracurriculars. So how do you get to that balance? I know we kind of already mentioned it, like with just this conversations we have in previous podcasts, but kind of touch up on that a little bit.
Having priority in your schedules, knowing what's most important, knowing, for me, during season, obviously my highest priority is wrestling. In all season, that's when I have a lot more time on my hands to focus on my extracurriculars, like the clubs, the Collegian, the stuff like that. I find it actually kind of fun to be able to excel in both, especially with the things that I'm doing. I'm doing things that I love doing, all this aligns with my major.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a little bit of motivation to work hard in both.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm just a really big fan of you. Like, you really impressed me. Just even before you became an NCAA champion, just people that are able to just handle so many things at once and be successful at what they do and really never complain about it, or at least still give seemingly 100% to everything that you do. That's why I'm really big fan of you. And just congratulations. Really proud of you for becoming an NCAA champion, doing something so historic, something so amazing.
I appreciate it.
And hopefully next season, when you go into wrestling again, maybe we can repeat. You never know.
Yeah, definitely. That's the goal. Take another one back home.
Yep.
And just end it on a good note.
Yeah,
right?
Before you graduate, you're going to be, two-time NCAA champion. Come on, come on.
Yep, 5-time All-American.
Yep.
There's not many of those out there.
Yep. So the last article that we wanted to talk about, I really like this article too. Appreciating GC Dining by Luke Butner. Just this article gives so much credit, much needed credit, to the cafeteria workers. They work hard every single day throughout the year to give us the best service that they can. I've went to other cafeterias of other schools, and they just don't compare to the love that the staff of GC gives. And honestly, you get to really get to know them on a personal level. And it's kind of like a symbol of what GC really is, to be honest.
It's definitely, it feels like a family kind of thing. I know every morning whenever I see Mr. James and Miss Shirley, I always have a Bible verse for them every morning. They gifted me with a learning Bible and stuff, just so I'm constantly gaining knowledge on the word and stuff like that. And we have a great relationship. I can talk to them about anything, you know. And it's really awesome to have people like that on campus that you could just talk about anything, invent if you need to, in the least expected places, like your school's dining hall. So, and it's awesome, food is great, and I appreciate all of them, really do.
Absolutely. Just the staff, they're just so friendly, so kind, and they really try to make that deep connection with you, which you don't see with other cafeteria people in other schools or just other establishments in general. Like, they're just there to make food and just get money. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but like the effort that these staff people, cafeteria workers go to just really make friends, just make people comfortable, it's really amazing.
And that's really one of the big parts of why I wanted to go to Greensboro College to begin with, was the family aspect, everybody knowing each other and stuff like that. having that relationship with staff and students, it's awesome. It
Yes.
builds a community.
Yes.
You know, so it's almost like when you come to the dining hall for dinner. It's like sitting at your family dinner table. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that I appreciate them for.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, that's all that we're gonna have for today's Collegian Podcast. We really appreciate you guys for tuning in, and make sure that you pick up the issue Out at All Stands right now when this podcast releases. You should be all out, and make sure you subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and just keep giving us love. We really appreciate all the support, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Peace.